A very good afternoon to you. I trust that your day is coming up well. It's just about a minute past 3 p.m. East African time. A very good afternoon to you. Good morning, good evening, depending on where you're tuned in, and joining us from today, being the 18th of May 2023. The show is Diaspora Dispatches, and on the show this afternoon, I'd like for us to just come back home and look at this East African community blog, certain developments that have been ongoing that I thought it was important for me to bring to our attention, where a political confederation now seems to be on the offing, and it's being worked on with the preparations on high gear right now. So let us know what this is all about. But first, the East African Community is the regional intergovernmental organization of the republics of Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, and United Republic of Tanzania, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, with its headquarters in Arusha, Tanzania. The treaty for establishment of the E.A.C. was signed in 1999, and it entered into force in 2000 following its ratification by the partner states. So this was the second time. Remember, there was an East African community that was formed in the 70s that broke in 1977 because of the differences in ideologies between the three founding states, that was Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the main problem, I think, was between Kenya and Tanzania because of the ideological difference. Kenya is a capitalist country, while Tanzania is a socialist country. And I think during that time, we had the unipolar world between the communism and capitalism, what was ongoing during the Cold War. So maybe that was also on the back of that, but that and many other reasons had led to the falling out of the first E.A.C. in 1977. So the new one is the one I'm referring to, with the treaty that established now the East African Community that was signed in 1999, and this was after the efforts of our former late president, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, I think President, is it Mkapa? I don't want to say the wrong name. And another president, is it? And another, and of course, not another president. Yoweri Museveni has been there forever, so he was part of that, signing the treaty in 1999, and then it entered into force in 2000. And the East Africa Community aims at widening and deepening cooperation among the partner states in, among others, political, economic, and social fields for their mutual benefit. To this extent, there shall be established a customs union as the entry point of the community, a common market, subsequently a monetary union, and ultimately a political confederation of the East African states. So that is just the aims and the objectives of the E.A.C. there. And just a reminder, the E.A.C. is the latest country that joined this bloc last year. Before that, South Sudan joined just after becoming a republic in 2011. It started working on joining the E.A.C. and Somalia also has made a request to join the bloc, and they're still working on it. But the other member states, I suppose, are a bit reluctant to admit Somalia. But the new president Mahmoud has started a renewed effort in seeking for Somalia to join the E.A.C. So perhaps if it joins, then E.A.C. will have it will be an 8-member bloc. All right. So anyway, so the latest, and which will form our point of conversation this afternoon, is that the East Africa Community partner states are banking on the strengths and lessons from the existing pillars to garner support for a political alliance. Kenya's East Africa's Community Cabinet Secretary Rebecca Miano said consultations on the formation of a political federation began in Kenya last week, with officials targeting a confederation for a start before finally building what could be a regional political federation. Miano, who launched Kenyan stakeholders consultation, said the bloc has embarked on a wider public awareness while banking on an existing success to promote political integration. She said such awareness will help to allay unhinged fears, suspicion, and mistrust, because I think these have been the three things that have made this bloc not to move forward, especially mistrust and suspicion and fears. This, I think they address the same thing among E.A.C citizens and hasten the implementation of the federation. Last week, a team of constitutional experts from all the E.A.C partner states, led by former Uganda Chief Justice Dr. Benjamin Odoki and Kenya's former Attorney General Amos Wako, began engaging Kenyans from 47 counties on the type of constitution. And I'm sure Kenyans are not even aware. And this is such an important thing. And the fact that a lot of Kenyans are not even aware that participation is required as to what they envision this political configuration of the E.A.C, how they would like for it to look like, and the aspirations, and what perhaps should it mirror, and what should be the driving values and principles and things like that. And the fact that a lot of Kenyans don't even know this, and yet the team that is consulting and that is meant to be getting the opinion of Kenyans has been going throughout the 47 counties. That is problematic for me, but that is something that has been ongoing. On the types of the constitution, the team has been going, the Kenyan team, each team is working on the same modalities and finding this information and all that. The types of the constitution the E.A.C should have for a political federation. The team is expected to meet with President William Ruto, I guess, very soon. Now, consultations have happened in Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda. Okay? So this is something that has been ongoing. And I don't know why it has not been open, because I look at these stories every day, and this is something that would have caught my eye and I would have brought to your attention, because that is what we do here every day. But apparently the consultations of establishing this political East Africa Community Political Federation has already concluded in Burundi, in Rwanda, in Uganda, and will now move to Tanzania. They're ongoing in Kenya as we speak. They'll move to Tanzania, South Sudan, and the DR Congo. Okay, so Justice Odoki, this is the justice from Uganda. The Justice Odoki said experts have developed a theoretical framework of a political confederation following an extensive analysis of the E.A.C integration in line with the E.A.C treaty, protocols, laws, and reports. The proposal of a political confederation means a common monitoring mechanism where the region adopts common political features and customs. So what we are looking at, when you hear that, just think about the European Union, where they do have a common political features and customs. Now that is going to be very interesting. Just pigging back on what I've just mentioned there earlier, what broke the first E.A.C bloc, the differences in ideology. I know for now Tanzania has really shifted from the socialist country that it were, so it's not exactly socialist, although a lot of its values and how they are and their culture and how they are as a people are greatly attached to that yet. And Kenya is what I call hardcore capitalist society. So these ideological differences are still there, although right now we don't have that influence, that underbelly that were at that time. I was telling you about the unipolar system at that time and the Cold War that was ongoing, that a lot of times affected some of these political decisions and interactions between countries at that time, depending on which side of the unipolar you are allied to. Right? So now they want to make, they want to mirror something that will have perhaps where the region adopts common political features. I don't know, these common political features, like now, shall we force Uganda to, this is just me thinking out loud, but I can't wait to see the outcome of these mechanisms they've been working on, and these these opinions they've been collecting, or whatever that will form, whatever it is. Because one of the key things that forms the political feature and customs of the European Union is things to do with democracy. And that democracy, it's well spelled out, okay? Except we do, a lot of countries in Europe don't even have time limits. Angela Merkel served until she was tired. She retired, and then she resigned. And other countries as well. So few of them operate within the parameters of term limits as it has been introduced to us, and we've been operating here. And so I don't know, when they talk about political features, what this should look like. What are we envisioning our politics to look like, I think. And so in May 2017, E.A.C heads of state had adopted the political confederation as a transitional model of the East African Political Federation. Justice retired Odoki's team will mostly focus, he's the one who's leading this justice from Uganda. Team will mostly focus on key areas around cooperation under the political confederation, the governing structure of the political confederation, and modes of decision making by the federation authority. Other areas of interest include governance principles of the confederation, the relationship between the individual partner states, which I think is very important, and the confederal authority, funding of the operations of the confederal authority, the mode of adoption of the constitution establishing the political confederation, and finally any other constitutional issues of concern of stakeholders. So these are really important aspects that sometimes I think might well, we will still be able to draw the line between sovereignty and some of these things that this confederation is trying to establish here, but it might force certain members in this bloc, I think, to act a certain way, because if you want to have a political confederation, that means your belief system around politics and how you intend to do certain things in your country must align. Otherwise, you cannot have a confederation where your belief system and your principles and certain things, especially in politics, because now you're seeking to have a political confederation, are varied to an extent where there's no harmony. That is not how you have a core sector, because now they want to create a core sector in the E.A.C. And a core sector, some of the characteristics is you share a lot of important things in common that makes you cohesive. So if some of these ideologies and some of these ways of doing things from different countries will not be cohesive, then that might affect this confederation. So let me just take us through some of these governance principles of this confederation that they're working to put up together. So this will be the areas of interest: the relationship between individual partner states and the confederal authority, the E.A.C confederal authority, funding of the operations of the confederal authority, and the mode of adoption of the constitution establishing the political confederation, and finally any other constitutional issues of concern to stakeholders, and that will be the different states, because states here are the main unit of reference. Justice Odoki said the experts have also developed a theoretical framework of a political confederation following an extensive analysis of the E.A.C integration in line with the E.A.C treaty protocols, laws and reports. Okay, I think I've mentioned that a bit earlier. Now, the constitutional drafting process started on the 20th May 2017. The 18th summit of the E.A.C heads of state adopted and directed the council to constitute a team of constitutional experts to draw the constitution for the political confederation. Subsequently, the council appointed the constitutional experts in January 2019. So this is a process that was commenced after the 18th summit of the East African Community Heads of State meeting in 2017, and that is where they agreed to have this done. President Magufuli was still alive. At that time, President Magufuli was he alive? I think he was. He died at the wake of COVID in 2020, I think. Yeah. And there was a lot of problems, especially between us and Tanzania. Well, Kenyan side, we really didn't seem to have a lot of issues. But President Magufuli particularly had issues with Kenya when it comes to trade and free movement and things like that. And these are some of the things that have made the union of the E.A.C to not really be strong, because there are certain things that members have not fully agreed it has been agreed on paper, but members do not practice. The member states do not apply it on board. You find that some countries choose to operate differently when it suits their interest. And so this was started in 2017, and the Council appointed the constitutional experts in January 2019. So I think even the countries that they've been able to carry out this process, being Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, I think from 2019, this is what they have been doing. And now they're in Kenya, of course, and then they'll move to Tanzania, and then South Sudan, then later to the DRC. The team is comprised of 2 constitutional experts and 1 constitutional drafting expert from each partner state. With the addition of the Democratic Republic of Congo into the bloc, the 43rd meeting of the Council of E.A.C. ministers directed the new partner state to submit the names of the constitutional expert. Since their appointment, the constitutional experts held a series of activities in April 2019, and they held a meeting with Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni, who was selected by the summit to provide political guidance to the constitutional experts. It's not like I'm hesitant for President Museveni to provide a political guidance, but I think out of respect, because he's the elder in this bloc. So but anyway, the political confederation is the ultimate goal of the E.A.C. regional integration, the 4th step after customs union, common market and monetary union. It is provided for under Article 5, sub-Article 2 of the Treaty of the Establishment of the E.A.C. and founded on 3 pillars: a common foreign and security policies, good governance and effective implementation of the prior stages of regional integration. Good governance. Oh, I think that is subjective, depending on which country you're talking about, okay? So there's something here I've mentioned to do with the E.A.C. monetary union, because while they were agreeing in 2017, those are some of the things that they had agreed, that this bloc needs to have one currency. That has not been successful. The only thing that has been successful so far is the E.A.C. passport. I was just going through to see how countries have implemented this, and perhaps I'll touch on that very shortly. But let's look at the single currency. This is some of the things that were agreed upon that has not been realized. So I don't know if this, based upon some of these factors, if at all this political alliance would even be possible. The East African Community member states will have to wait longer for a monetary union. A task force to look into the matter has proposed to delay the implementation of the East African Monetary Union, EAMU, let me just, until 2031, from initial date of 2024, saying it is too soon considering members have not attained all requirements. The proposed delay is an indictment on the members' commitment to achieve the EAMU, a key pillar of the integration. The EAMU is the 3rd pillar of the E.A.C., others being the custom union, I've mentioned that, the common markets protocol. The region under EAMU is expected to adopt a single currency by 2024. That was the initial agreement while they were making this agreement in 2017. That was the deadline. By next year, we were supposed to have, I think, an East African Community shilling, or I think, probably. Okay, but it appears countries are not keen on having that one currency like we have in the European Union. Like, they have the euro there. So according to Panteleo Kesi, and this was sometimes back last year, this is what he said at that time, Dr. Panteleo. We have a roadmap that was supposed to be implemented between 2013, when the Monetary Union Protocol was signed, and in fact, not even 2017. This was 5 years earlier, 2013. No, 3 or 4 years earlier, 2013, before the other protocol for the Confederation was signed in 2017. I hope I'm not confusing you with these dates. Okay. And between 2013, when the Monetary Union Protocol was signed, and 2024, but we did not manage to implement most of the activities in that roadmap. According to the roadmap, the E.A.C convergence criteria were to be attained by 2021 and be attained for 3 years in the run-up to the establishment of the monetary union in 2024. However, going through each activity shows that all partner states, Burundi, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Sudan, are behind schedule because there are certain things they're supposed to do in readiness to have this. Okay. According to the EAMU roadmap, 4 broad prerequisites need to be achieved ahead of the establishment of the monetary union. The first one includes the full implementation of the customs union and common markets protocol that forms the core of why even the E.A.C was formed. Okay, and then however, both the customs union and common market protocols are currently under implementation. Although much progress has been made, the protocols are not yet fully implemented. All right, so I'll quote Dr. Kevit Desai, the Principal Secretary at the E.A.C and Regional Ministry of Kenya, and this is what he said last year over that matter. Partner states are at different levels of implementation, and that partly slows the implementation of the E.A.C third pillar. Second, not all partner states have attained the 4 macroeconomic convergence criteria for the implementation of the monetary union. This includes ceilings on headline inflation of 8%, reserve cover of 4.5-month import, and then an 4 to 5 month import, on overall deficit of 3% of the GDP, and on gross public debt of 50% of the GDP. So these are things that partners are supposed to, the member states are supposed to work. Your GDP, your public debt is not supposed to pass, and that's why they put this debt ceilings. It's not supposed to pass you a certain level percentage of your GDP. That becomes problematic. So they're supposed to work on these internal issues, this macroeconomic part of their economy and all that, so that they are at a certain level where when they go ahead and implement this, it will not be especially a burden on other members, or the issue of inflation will not be problematic, with the rest of the members from one state. Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda attained the headline inflation target of less than 8% in 2021. Okay, but only 3 partner states attained the official foreign exchange reserve target of 4 to 5 months of imports. Okay, so those are just some of the requirements. All right, so I'll not go through the whole thing, but and then we've seen the passport also. This was agreed upon a couple of years ago, and Uganda became the first East African country to fully shift to the new electronic passport, beating fellow East Africa community members. It did that in 2002. In May, and then in Rwanda, not in May, I think Rwanda passports were pushed from June 27th. That was supposed to be the deadline, 2021, to June 27th, 2022. Last year, according to a communication issued by Rwandan Directorate General of Immigration, and so they have already been able to also shift to the new East African community passports. And in February 2020, Tanzania enforced the use of the new E.A.C, and of course Kenya, they kept pushing the deadline. I think the last was last year, December. So I don't know if right now they're operating within the new passports. But you can see things like this, member states are willing and have showed a will to actually do and respect some of these agreements in the E.A.C. So judging from what we've been seeing and how East Africa community has been operating, and with the relationship and the interaction between the member states, is the E.A.C finally headed for a stronger political alliance? I think that is the big question, and that is what we are waiting to see. And I think I'll be following up the activities of this task force and see if at all we are ready. I think this will be good for this region. There is power in numbers and in unity. Maybe that will be the only way that can help us in moving forward and progressing as this region. So this is something that I shall be following up for us. I want to thank you so much for your time this afternoon. My name is Miriam Oguta. This has been Diaspora Dispatches. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.